What is up, everyone? Corn O'Keefe back yet again, and as the title implies, I'm bringing you another versus matchup, folks. Today we have the Red Cyclone, Zangief, going up against Ginyu Force member Recoome in an equal stats situation. Now, before we fully get down to business, I'd like to give a huge shout out and thanks to the Crusaders of Verity and the HQ squad. Shout out to Captain Forrest. He was a big help with the Russian wrestler. Shout out to Carimbus and the entirety of both teams. Make sure you go check out their channels, subscribe, and leave a like. They're all awesome. Alrighty, without further ado, let's get down to business. How about we start off with Zangief and go over what he brings to the table. Zangief is capable of performing the Bashing Fist, which is a technique where he channels chi in his hand and either uses it to destroy projectiles or tag his opponents. We've seen this dude use this ability to intercept Ryu's Hadokens. It's worth noting that chi in Street Fighter is not only physical, but mental and spiritual in nature as well. As we know, Zangief is highly skilled in Russian and American wrestling. He knows many techniques such as the screw pile driver, atomic suplex, and the double lariat technique. It allows him to avoid projectiles and tag his opponents by spinning around with his fist out. Zangief also has a counterattack where he parries, grabs his opponent's leg, and slams on it. He can also perform airborne maneuvers such as the Siberian Blizzard, where he launches himself into the air to grab and slam down on his opponents. Moving on, we've seen Zangief perform the Iron Muscle, which gives him a layer of armor. This layer of armor allows him to absorb different types of attacks. Zangief can perform the Cyclone Lariat. This is where he spins around at rapid speed to suck his opponents in closer to do damage to them. Projectiles phase past him when he performs this technique. Zangief is also capable of copying other techniques, and he only has to see them one time. Heck, Shimboski has even complimented Zangief's skill. Last but likely not least, Zangief can apply a layer of armor when he runs up to his opponents and grabs them to perform the Siberian Express. That rounds up Zangief. How about we move on down the line and talk about Recoome and what he brings to the table? For starters, Recoome is capable of utilizing the Recoome Boom, a powerful elbow strike that he used against Vegeta. Named Recoome Elbow in the Japanese dub. He has his Recoome Hip Attack. You know, that powerful bottom thrust he used against Gohan. Recoome also has his continuous energy bullet technique, the Recoome Renegade Bomber, aka the Recoome Bomber. There's also his signature technique that he fires from his mouth, known as the Recoome Eraser Gun. Oh, and let's not forget about Recoome's ultimate technique, Recoome Ultra Fighting Bomber. This is where Recoome forms a large amount of energy around his body and releases it in a massive explosion, destroying everything around him. By the way, similar to Chi in Street Fighter, Ki in Dragon Ball is also mental and spiritual in nature. Well, it looks like both of these characters are ready to fight. In terms of the mental and spiritual aspects of the Chi in Street Fighter and the Ki in Dragon Ball, I don't see that necessarily being a difference maker or a game changer in this situation. Both characters have experience dealing with these two aspects, as well as being able to actually manipulate them themselves. As far as skill goes, I'd lean more towards Zangief based on what we know, on top of Zangief himself having more direct skill showings. Recoome does have mobility on his side, thanks to being able to fly, and his Ki Blasts give him good AoE. However, Zangief does have multiple techniques that he can use to cancel out the Ki Blast, and as mentioned earlier, he has a technique that allows him to essentially phase through attacks. Recoome is known to get physical though. Recoome could use his mobility to take Zangief into the air and attempt to drive him headfirst into the ground. Zangief does have ways to get around this though. He can utilize his skill advantage or bring out his layer of armor to protect himself from the impact. From here, I see Zangief utilizing his superior skill to choke Recoome out and ultimately take victory more often than not. Although, Recoome does have another possibility on the table. If the fight drags on long enough, he could potentially decide to blow up the entire planet, leaving Zangief to suffocate in the vacuum of space in the process. This would be a good route for Recoome to go, but there's still the issue of Zangief having multiple techniques that he can use to cancel out Raccoome's Ki Blast. So I do think it's possible for Recoome to take victory in this matchup, but I think it's more likely that Zangief will take victory more often than not. Thanks to having multiple ways to counter Recoome, as well as having superior skill. But let me know what you all think down below. As always, have a blessed day, folks. Peace!